We at Benjamin's Bees have been fortunate to be supported by the Board of Directors at the Lois Green, Sligo chapter of the Isaac Walton League of America. They've not only provided a place for me to build this apiary, but also to help educate people about honeybees by making these videos. And I'd like to thank the Isaac Walton League of America for giving me this opportunity. Hi, I'm Lee.
And I'm Sarah from Benjamin's Bees.
And we're at the Bee Yard today to talk to you about beekeeping safety and the essential tools and techniques that will keep not only you, but the honeybees safe.
The most important tool to keep you and the honeybee safe is the smoker.
The smoker is a simple tool. It consists of a smoke chamber and a set of bellows that will pump fresh air into the chamber and then push smoke out the end of the nozzle. Before I tell you about the bee smoker, I'm going to show you a couple simple techniques used to light it. So I like to start with light, fluffy paper. I don't compact it too much. And the reason for that is I want all that kinetic energy from the paper to start my organic material. I've used jute twine, I use pine needles, and I've also used blue jeans whenever they're available. But today we're probably going to use the jute twine. So you light the paper, let it get really going. And then just keep pumping those bellows. You're going to see the smoke change to a darker, thick smoke. That's usually when you know that the jute thread is starting to burn. And you can put the cap on to let it run. In the past I have used cardboard, but I grew a little wary of it because I guess I'm concerned about the chemicals that they might use on the cardboard, either pesticides or chemicals in the advertisements, the colorants and the lettering. I still use it occasionally, but only when I'm in a pinch. I'll usually go back to pine needles, twine, blue jeans, and use whatever you have available. Now when you finish your inspections, it's important to make sure that this doesn't start a fire. So I like to use a cork in the end, and I also use another cork in this end to keep all fresh air from going in and burning up the rest of the material. I also like to put it inside of a metal trash can so that if it does keep burning, it can't start a fire.
Okay, back to safety tips and tools. Once lit, the smoker will produce cool smoke that will be blown over the bees and into the entrance during the inspection. There are two popular beliefs about the use of smoke. One is that the smoke covers up the alarm pheromone that the bees use to communicate that there's a problem. The second belief is that the smoke causes the honeybees to prepare for a forest fire. Since the honeybees have set up their hive inside of a wooden log or hive box, they prepare to evacuate the hive in the event it catches fire. Their first priority is to suck up honey and prepare to evacuate the hive. Either way, the smoke allows us to inspect the hive safely.
The second technique is honeybee safety. Not causing the bees any harm is very important. Because don't forget, the honeybees have a barbed stinger, which means if they sting us, they're going to die. Not only that, they're vegetarians, which means they don't see us as a food source. They're only eating pollen for protein and nectar for carbohydrates. So they're only concerned with us if we're causing them harm. That loud noise, the cracking of the wood, sends them a signal that something or somebody may be breaking into their hive. keeping quiet during an inspection is an important safety technique as well. This little piece of wood here is a shim that I use on hot days to help keep the moist, hot air out of the hive. So don't crush the bees. Don't burn them with hot smoke from your smoker. You want to just sort of blow it over the top of the bars and a little into the entrance. A little goes a long way. But other than not crushing them or burning them with hot smoke, a beekeeper has to pay attention to the weather. If I were to open this hive when it's cooler than, let's say, 55 degrees, the brood that's on this frame, the developing bees, could chill and they could die. And if I open this hive in the rain, the water can cause the developing bees to get waterlogged and die. If I crush them or burn them with hot smoke, any of these things can cause the bees to sense that there is a threat that's affecting their health and can cause them to get aggressive. Honeybees are not concerned with us, so as long as you're not causing them any harm, you're going to be just fine. I started off by telling you not to crush any bees, and what I mean by that is, as you can see, I'm not wearing any gloves, so I can feel the honeybees on this frame. When I'm moving the frame, I can actually touch the honeybees and I can feel them, and they're not wanting to sting me, as long as I'm not pushing on them hard enough to cause them to forcefully sting me. Another way that most beekeepers crush honeybees is because they're using big bulky leather gloves, so they can't feel the bees like I can feel them. They don't have the dexterity. Another way that most beekeepers will crush bees is if you look along these end bars right here. This frame right here is going to set on this end bar. So oftentimes bees will congregate right here on these end bars. And if you're not paying attention when you're putting frames in, you can crush the bees with this part of the end bar. Another part that you need to be careful of is when you take the frame up and out of the hive body. There's just enough space where you need to bring this frame directly up. If you slide it too far to the left or too far to the right, you can crush the bees that like to congregate on the side of the frame. And the last place that you're most likely going to crush honeybees is right here. This is an end bar. And these frames are built so that you can't push the entire frame together. So when you're pushing frames back together, I always keep my eyes right along this section, and I'll slowly bump the bees just ever so gently, not crushing them, but just warning them that the frame's going to be moving. Like that. Now something else that I'll do, and it's a technique that I've learned, is if I have to inspect all of these frames, when I inspect the first one, I remove it, and I put the second one where the first one was. Now when I inspect the second frame, I put it right up against the first one. Well, the first one in line, but obviously the second frame. And I do that all the way to the end until I'm done with my inspection. Usually it's going to be all 10 frames, but you never know. Move them a little too quickly. And by doing this, all the frames are in the correct order and they're the correct distance. So I don't have to move them all back individually. I can pry them all back at once. And now I only have to worry about those end bars one last time for the first frame or the last frame in line. You can get away with a lot of disruptive techniques while inspecting a hive, but you just can't crush them. You can touch them, you can remove frames, you can shake frames, you can smoke them, and sometimes you can get away with pushing the limits with the weather, but just don't crush the bees, don't cause them any harm. The next few techniques are simple, however they're very important. A beekeeper must move slowly because honeybees don't like quick or sudden movements. And they shouldn't smell bad. Don't wear leather like a watch band or gloves. I once inspected a hive after playing basketball, and the bees did not appreciate it. If you smell like a wild animal, they may treat you like one. Speak softly. Loud noises can also scare or alert the bees to your presence. Have a plan and make it a good one. Don't get stuck trying to hold on to 3 frames at once. Some other helpful tips are wearing light colors. Many of the animals that are more aggressive towards honeybees are dark colored. There aren't many polar bears attacking honeybees, and that's why we wear white. Wearing dark sunglasses or glasses in general can accentuate your eyes, giving the bees a reference point to focus on during a tense moment. Also, don't breathe on the bees. Honeybees must have learned that where we breathe is a nice sensitive spot to sting. So holding your breath briefly during tense moments can help. Wear protective equipment. 3 years ago, I was keeping bees when a black walnut husk fell from the tree I was under. The husk hit me in the ribs as I was bent over. Had I been in a slightly different position, the frame of honeybees could have been struck and I would have been attacked by the bees. Keep in mind, it has taken me a number of years to master the techniques that allow me to inspect hives with little to no protection.
The last thing we'd like to touch on is that you will get stung by a honeybee. Knowing how it feels is important because you cannot lose your cool while keeping honeybees.
I was just stung. The pain is a 1. It's quickly escalating and will soon be a 10. I need to get this stinger out as soon as possible. Review these safety tips and keep them in mind when caring for your honeybees.
We're Lee and Sarah from Benjamin's Bees. See you next time.